Hey guys, today we are making 5 more summer sheet pan dinners. We will be making my sheet pan hot honey chicken and zucchini, sheet pan meatball steak frites, sheet pan buttery cracker crusted fish, sheet pan Italian sub sandwiches, and sheet pan cheeseburgers and fries. So let's go get started. So yesterday was my son's 3rd birthday party. It was so much fun. We had it at a farm, but we are just exhausted, as you are after hosting any sort of, party or event. So we're having a lazy Sunday. I'm staying in my comfies and we're just gonna do something quick, easy, super comforting, but also healthier than caving in and getting takeout. We're gonna make my sheet pan hot honey chicken with zucchini. So I'm just starting off here by cutting 2 medium zucchinis into half moons. And we just want to keep them to about 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch thick. If you want them a little bit crunchier, then I would recommend slicing them a little bit thicker. So now I have about 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of chicken breast that I am slicing into 1-inch pieces. So now let's move on to our sauce. So in my mason jar here, I have 1/2 cup of honey. You can use store-bought hot honey, but because I was feeding this to my 3-year-old, I didn't want it to be too spicy. So I'm adding in a little bit of crushed red pepper on my own to control the heat. But to that honey, I'm adding in 3 cloves of minced garlic, 1 tablespoon of soy sauce, 1/2 teaspoon of salt and pepper, some paprika, there's that crushed red pepper, and about 1 tablespoon of olive oil. And we just want to mix that. And then we're going to pour half of it over the chicken and reserve the rest for later. I personally like to marinate the chicken for about 1 hour before cooking, but you can skip that step and just move right on to cooking. So I have my oven preheated to 400 degrees, and I'm putting the zucchini on half of the sheet pan, drizzling it with about 1 tablespoon of oil and some salt and pepper. And then I'm going to place the chicken on the other side of the pan. So we just want to bake this for about 20 minutes. And then we're going to take the pan out of the oven and brush the remaining marinade on the chicken and bake an additional 5 to 10 minutes or until it's nice and sticky and the chicken and zucchini are cooked through. Now I like to serve rice on the side. You can keep it easy and do one of the microwave pouches or do minute rice. But it's also delicious with just the chicken and zucchini. Okay, so today we are going to make my sheet pan meatball steak frites. It's just kind of a fun, family-friendly, budget-friendly twist on the classic French dish. So let's get started. So I'm starting out by taking 3 large russet potatoes that I cleaned and peeled, and we're just going to cut those into thin fries, about 1/4 inch thick or so. And we want to place them in a bowl of cold water and let them soak for about 30 minutes, and that is going to release a lot of the starch off of the potatoes and help them crisp up better. So then I'm going to drain the potatoes and pat them dry. My oven is preheated to 375 degrees, and I have the fries on my sheet pan here. I'm just drizzling them with some olive oil, and then I'm going to season them with salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And we're just going to bake those for about 20 minutes and then work on the meatballs. So in a large bowl, I have 1.5 pounds of ground beef, and to that I am adding in 2 eggs, 1 cup of breadcrumbs, 1/4 cup of milk, 3 cloves of minced garlic, and then some dried thyme, dried rosemary, salt and pepper, as well as about a tablespoon of freshly chopped parsley. We're just going to mix that together and form these into meatballs about the size of golf balls. But you can make them as small or as large as you would like. You just have to adjust the cooking time accordingly. So I'm going to push the fries to one side of the sheet pan and then place the meatballs on the other side. And we're going to crank the oven up to 425 degrees and bake this for an additional 30 minutes, or until the meatballs are 165 degrees internally. So while those bake, we're going to make our sauce. So I'm taking a little shortcut with this. I have 1 package of beef gravy mix, and I'm going to combine that in my saucepan with 1/2 cup of water and 1/2 cup of heavy cream. And we just want to bring this to a simmer for about a minute or until it's thickened. And it will tell you on the package directions. And then I'm just adding in about a tablespoon of black pepper that I freshly ground and some garlic powder. And then we are just going to serve that on the side of our meatballs and fries for dipping. You can also put some on top of the meatballs, like I did, just for presentation purposes, along with some fresh parsley. This dinner was a huge hit. Again, something that my toddler actually ate because he loves gravy. If you give him gravy on the side of anything, he will eat it. So it worked out really well, and it's just a more budget-friendly version of steak frites. So now moving on to my sheet pan buttery cracker crusted fish. I have 2 tablespoons of melted butter in a bowl, and I'm adding in about a cup of crushed butter crackers or Ritz crackers, and 1/4 cup of these fried onions, like the ones you use on green bean casserole for Thanksgiving. And we're just going to combine that and set it aside. And then in a separate bowl, I have 2 tablespoons of Dijon mustard, and to that I am adding in a teaspoon of lemon zest, 1/2 teaspoon of Old Bay seasoning, 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder, and a tablespoon of oil. And we're just going to mix that and again set it aside. So now here I have about a head of broccoli cut up into florets, some lemon slices, and some fresh dill. So I'm going to add my broccoli to one side of a sheet pan, and then I have 3 to 4 tilapia fillets. You can also use cod or halibut for this. Any nice firm white fish will do. And we're just going to spread that mustard combo all over the fish, and then I'm going to divide the cracker crumbs on top of the fish and just press lightly to adhere. And my oven is preheated to 425 degrees, and we're just going to bake this for about 10 to 15 minutes or until the broccoli is cooked and the fish is nice and golden brown and cooked through. So while we wait on that, we're going to make our lemon dill sauce. So I have about 1/4 cup of sour cream, and to that I'm going to add in 1/2 teaspoon of lemon juice, a tablespoon of fresh dill, and then some garlic powder, salt and pepper. We just want to mix that and set it aside until the fish is done, but this is delicious on the fish, dipping the fish in it and the broccoli. It's really light and fresh and just really complements everything. So then I also like to serve the fish with some fresh lemon wedges to squeeze on top. And again, this is great as is, but you could, of course, make some pasta or rice or potatoes on the side. Today we are going to make my sheet pan Italian sub sandwiches. So I have my sheet pan lined with foil, and I have 2 tablespoons of butter melted, and I'm brushing half of that onto the sheet pan. And then I have 6 slices of bread. You can use your favorite sliced bread, but I like to try and find one that's a little bit thicker. And we're just going to lay those right on top of the butter. Then I have some sliced mozzarella cheese, ham, and you want to try and get this all sliced thin. Some fresh baby spinach that I just chopped up, salami, pepperoni, I use turkey pepperoni here, and some pepperoncini peppers that I patted dry from the jar and diced up. And then the last thing we're adding on here is some sliced provolone cheese. So all of the good stuff on an Italian combo. And I know there's no dressing, but you honestly will not miss it, I promise. Or if you really, really love Italian dressing, put it on the side for dipping. But we want these to get really crispy and not soggy. So I'm just going to top with the remaining bread and brush the tops of the bread with the remaining butter. And then I'm taking another sheet pan that I lined the bottom with foil, and we're going to put this on top of the sandwiches to weigh them down and keep them from falling apart and also getting them nice and crispy. So my oven is preheated to 400 degrees, and we're just going to bake them for about 10 minutes and then remove that sheet pan off the top and bake an additional 20 minutes. And then as soon as they come out of the oven, I'm sprinkling on some Parmesan cheese and chopped fresh parsley. These are so incredibly good. We love a nice Italian combo, but it's a great way to make a bunch of sandwiches for a crowd, and it's also a hot dinner instead of having a cold sandwich, which is nice for a change. It's like the perfect crossover of grilled cheese and Italian combo. And last but certainly not least is my sheet pan cheeseburgers and fries. This time I opted for sweet potato fries because over the course of these sheet pan dinners we've been doing a lot of fries, but it's something summery about it. So I have 2 large sweet potatoes that I cut into wedges, drizzled with oil and salt and pepper. And then on the other side of the sheet pan I have my burger patties. And I'm just seasoning them with salt and pepper, and I made an indent in the center of them with my thumb so that they don't get too plump in the center. And I'm also seasoning with a little bit of garlic powder. And then I'm just placing a tablespoon of butter on each of the burgers. My oven is preheated to 400 degrees, and we're just going to bake this for about 40 minutes, flipping the fries halfway in between. And then I'm adding some slices of cheese on top and just throwing it in the oven for another 3 minutes or so. And that's it. I know this recipe is super simple. I didn't even doctor up the burgers to show you, so I know it looks kind of plain, but this is just one of those hacks I had to share because especially in the summertime, it's a really nice, quick and easy way to not have to, go heat up the grill and stand over the burgers, or like on rainy days, if maybe you're doing a cookout and you get rained out and can't grill, they come out beautiful, super juicy, not too greasy. It's our new favorite way to make burgers. I really hope you guys enjoyed coming along with me to make 5 more summer sheet pan dinners. This will probably be it for the summer sheet pan series. We're going to be moving on to one of my favorites, slow cooker dinners for summer, coming up here really soon. But if you give any of these a try, please be sure to let me know down in the comments what you think. I love hearing from you guys. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and we will see you in the next one. Bye.